Hello there, my name's Jan from JB Crafts and I'm back today with another tutorial for you. So thank you for joining me today. Welcome to the channel. If it's the first time that you've come across my channel, I am an avid paper crafter. I used to work in the industry and now I found myself with lots and lots of free time. So yeah, wanted to work on the channel and build it, and yes, it's gone really well. I am thoroughly enjoying it. So I'm actually going to do a little gift bag tutorial today. This is really sweet, and you can use any of your pattern papers, whether they're single-sided, double-sided, and it's got a lot of space inside there for a really nice gift to maybe be wrapped in tissue, something like that. I've used some nesting dies for my handles, but I'll talk around how you can do this if you don't have the nesting dies. And then I've just got the coordinating paper to create the sides of it. Now, those of you that have been following me for a while, certainly while I was working for Crafters Companion, I actually did this design on CTV, on Crafters TV. And I'll just bring in the one that I did because this went down really well. This was a large gift bag, and I did this for Valentine's Day back in January. So it's exactly the same idea. This one was made out of a 12 by 12 sheet. So this one is actually 12 inches across, and I think it was 9 inches tall. Really big sort of space in there. And this was a double-sided paper. Again, use that coordinating papers on the side there. And this was when we actually launched the letter dies, the alphabet dies. So yeah, this was really well received, but what I wanted to do was actually look at reducing the size, because obviously this is a very large one. So let's put that to one side, and I've actually scaled it down. You will still need two pieces of 12 by 12 paper to cut this from, but this one actually measures 9 inches across by, I think it was 6.5 inches high, if I remember. Or is it 6? No, 6 inches tall and 9 inches across, and it is 2.5 inches deep. So just scaled all the measurements down just to create something, you know, that's a sort of, if I put my hand at the side of there, you can see the kind of size we're looking at. Really simple to make. Once you've got the idea of this, you can make it actually any size you want. When you just realize how this is put together, it is so simple to alter and you adjust the measurements to fit maybe, you know, a gift that you've got in mind. You could make it into a square one, you could make a tall thin one, lots and lots of different ones. I may revisit this at a later date and do it in a maybe a tall thin one, something like that. But yeah, just wanted to pop it on the channel. So, you know, a little bit of stamp detail on here. I've used one of my gift tag stamps to create a little tag, and just a bit of decoration. I'll show you the products that I've used. So let's get into the tutorial. I'm going to pop that one to one side over here, and we'll get into the tutorial. So we're going to need, I've got a different pattern paper because I only had 2 of this one left, and obviously I've used one for each side. I've used a different pattern paper from the same paper pad. It's an old paper pad, but just wanted that lovely, they've both got that lovely foiled finish, which is really nice. Bit more touch of luxury for a gift bag. This one was the same. It's got those little foiled elements on. Really pretty. So to start off with then, for the front and the back of the bag, I've actually put my measurements on a little sticky note because obviously the inside of this is going to show today. So for the actual pieces for the front and the back, you're going to need to cut 2 that measure 9 inches across by 8.5 inches tall. So it's almost square. And we're going to use that 9-inch width by 6 inches to make the height of the bag, and then the 2.5-inch return is going to be the bit that folds underneath here. So you're going to need to cut that twice, so you'll need 2 of these, and then you will also need 2 side pieces for the actual sides of the bag here, 2 the same, and they will need to be 6.5 tall by 3.5 wide. Okay, so 2 of the first one, 2 of the second one, and I've just chosen a coordinating colour because this foiling was in that lovely teal colour. I've gone with the blue to do the sides and the handles on this one. So let's just take that off, and we need to do a little bit of scoring next. Let me just pop that to one side and bring in my scoreboard. So the first thing I'm going to do is score this piece. Okay, so I'll just get my scoring tool and my burnishing tool. So you've got your 9-inch width, and if it is a directional paper, just make sure that you've got that going the right way. This one's not really an issue, but I used it the direction it was in the paper pad. So I've got my 9-inch this way. You want to rotate it onto the shorter side, which was only 8.5 inches. And I am actually going to score at 2.5 inches, okay, all the way down, just that vertical. And this is going to create the division between the side of the bag and the base of the bag. So 2.5 inches on that one. And then the side panel, we're actually going to score this at 1/2 inch on that short side. We're also going to score it at 3 inches. So I've created 2 1/2-inch pieces on either side, and then rotate, and we're going to do a 1/2 inch again to create that piece at the bottom. So we're actually going to make these two sides and the base into glue tabs in order to pop it onto the side of the bag here, like so. So a little bit of folding, that's the only scoring that we need to do. Pop those away. A little bit of folding. So the first one we did, we just want to fold across that length. And I'm just going to be gentle with mine because it is a foiled cardstock, so I don't want to damage the foiling. But we've now got the front of the bag, or the back, and we've got the base sort of emerged here underneath. So that's all we need to do for that one for the time being. And then this one, again, I'm going to use the bulk of that card to just fold along those score lines. So we've got the 2 long ones there on each side, and we've got the short one across the bottom. So a little bit of cutting, really simple. I'm just going to use my little scissors here. So you should actually have a 1/2 inch, a 1/2 inch, and a 1/2 inch, and it will have created the 2 little squares at either side, and those are what we need to cut away. So I'm just going to turn it round because it's actually easier to see this on the reverse of it. So I'm going to cut away the score line up to where this one bisects. And again, I'm going to do the same at this side, cutting away the score line, and then I'm going to cut in here, take that one away, and again take that one away. So I've cut the score line away on both of those. Those are rubbish. And then all I want to do now is just notch into these. So I'm just going to take a slight little tiny sliver out of here. I'm going to do the same on this edge. It's about an 1/8, well, not even an 1/8, maybe a 1/16 of an inch. Okay, and then the same on this one. Now I'm not actually going to take anything off the top because this is going to run parallel with the top edge of the bag. So just to keep it all nice and neat, I'm going to leave that one flat, but this is what you should end up with. All right, and these are going to become the sides that we fasten to the front and back of the bag and the base of the bag here. So you'll need to do that twice. We need 2 of each of these. So I've actually got this one prepared in the same manner. I've done exactly the same. I've scored it the same and cut it the same for my sides. And then I have got a second one of this one as well. But just before I do that, I want to do a little bit of work on this top edge. So if I show you the main one again, it's got those oval handles on here. I've used some of my nesting dies to create the handles, and I've reinforced these so they are quite rigid. But we need to cut out that semicircle for these to sit nicely. So just out of the top of the bag, we need to cut that semicircle out. Now, if you don't have nesting dies, if you don't have the ovals, you could make rectangles and cut the rectangular center out with a craft knife or something like that. If you've got circle dies, you could put circle handles on there. So there's lots of different options, but whatever your shape is, you're actually going to need to shape the top edge of the bag to match the handle. So what I'm going to do is a little bit of measuring on here. Now I've got these are actually stitched ovals, my nesting dies, and I've taken 2 out that I wanted to work with. So they're going to get that lovely, we're going to use these to create the handles, so we're going to get that lovely stitched detail on the handles as well. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take the smaller one of the 2, and I want to cut this to create that semicircle here. But just to make sure that it's pretty much in the centre, I am actually going to do a little bit of work to get the alignment properly. So first of all, I'm going to mark the centre. So this was a 9-inch piece. So half of 9 is 4.5. And then my oval from cut edge to cut edge measures 3 3/4. Okay. So what I want to do then is 3 3/4. Half of that would be, let's have a look. Half of 3 is 1.5, and half of a quarter is an 1/8. So I'm going to put it on 1 5/8, and I'm going to mark here at the 0 and the 3 1/4. So I've actually made the width of the die here. Now then, can I see my line that I've drawn there? Let me just check that again. 3 1/4. It's there. It's right on the blue there where I couldn't see it. There we go. So yeah, this is actually going to sit between those two pencil marks so that I've got it central on here. I also measured the depth of my die, which was 2.5. So I want to come down roughly in between those two lines about 1 1/4 inches, which is half of my die. So depending on the dimensions of your die, this measurement may change, but all I've done is found the center of my 9 inches. I've marked the width of my die, and I want to come down about 1 1/4 inches, which is half of the depth. Okay, and then all I'm going to do is take some low tack tape like so, and I'm going to pop this. I'm just going to turn it this way so that I can see better. I'm going to trap it between those two pencil lines that I created. Where are we? No, I haven't done that right. Okay, you're probably all screaming at me that that measurement wasn't right, because looking at that, it's nowhere near. Try that again, Jan. Don't know what happened there. So let me do, maybe it was my halving that wasn't so good. It's very early this morning. So 3 3/4. Half of 3 is 1.5. I did half of a quarter, didn't I? It was half of 3/4. So it wants to be 1 7/8. That's where you went wrong, Jan. So yeah, we want to go 1 7/8 each side. See, not perfect, and it was 3 3/4. Yep. So let's have a look. 2 5/8. Yeah. Right. So here we go. Let's try that again, shall we? The idea is that your die fits between the two pencil lines. Yep, which it does now. And I've got my little depth one there. So I'm happy that that is pretty much where I want it to sit. And then what I'm going to do is actually tape it in place and put the tape on the inside so that it doesn't damage the patterning on my paper. And then I am just going to pop behind me and pop this through my Gemini. So I've got my cutting plate here. I fold that one in so that I can fit it on there. And we're going to pop these on top. And I'm just going to pass that through my Gemini. So you can hear that in the background there. I've still not figured out a way of getting this nearer to the desk. It's set up behind me, which works fine in my craft room. But it does mean that I have to leave you guys for a couple of minutes just while I pop that through my die cutting machine. I use the original Gemini. That's what I have behind me, and you can see that that's cut that out of there beautifully. Okay, so we don't actually need this bit. That one is actually a waste element. Okay, and if there are any little pencil marks, I do rub them out, although the handle is actually going to cover this bit up, so it's not too much to worry about. So you can see now we've got that shaping ready. So if I bring my second one in, I'd already done that one just to save a little bit of time. So we've got two now that match with that nice oval shape cut out ready to receive the handles. Now I tend to work with mine flat to start with because I find it easier to stick things on here while I've got some leverage. Once you put the bag together, you're actually working on something that's a bit more hollow. So as far as the handles are concerned and the side panels, I'm going to do a little bit of work on that while it's flat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of the panels here and one of the side panels, and I'm actually going to use my all-purpose glue to do this. It's a really strong glue that is paper friendly. It's not going to damage your paper, it's not going to rutle it. And what we're going to do is we're going to go for those fold lines at the bottom here, and then just stick this up to that score line. So we've created the glue tab here. I'm going to pop my wet glue. Now, if you're not keen on the wet glue, you can use a tape runner for this. You can use double-sided tape, you know, whatever you fancy on there. But all I'm going to do then is lay this down. I'm going to look at these bottom score lines here. I want to make sure that they line up at the bottom, and it should be nice and flush here along the top. And then once I'm happy with that, I want to fold it away and make sure that that is a really nice flush edge down that side there. And once we're happy, we can give that a little press and just let that glue do its job. And using the wet glue gives you time to maneuver things into place. It's a lot more forgiving than using a dry glue like a double-sided tape. So I'm going to leave that one to dry. That's all I'm going to do on that one for the time being. But we are going to treat the other side to exactly the same process. And you need to remember to stick it. Whatever side you worked on the first side, it needs to go on the same on the second side. So again, I'm going to put my glue all the way down that glue tab that we created. Just spread it out a little bit so that it's not squidging all over the place. Lay it down flat. And again, I'm working on this bottom line here where I've made the score lines. Slide it underneath, and you should get it to line up nicely, nice and flush at the top there. I've just got some, even spreading it out, I still managed to get some glue squidging out there, but we'll use the eraser on that if need be to get rid of any excess. So again, I'm going to fold that back and just make sure I've got that really nice flush edge on both of them. Now the all-purpose glue, you can see where this is actually rubbing away, where it's just squidged out there. Just pop that edge in a little bit, but I have actually got my glue eraser if I need to use that on this side. It should just rub away, but I don't want to damage the cardstock. There we go. So we've got both of those the same now. We've got one like so and one like so. Got a little bit of smudge on there, but we'll sort that out later. Okay, so what's going to happen is eventually we're going to stick these all together to create the length of that bag. You can see they're probably gone quite out of my camera shot actually. And then we've got the elements to make the base. So before I do that, these are both the same, so if they're not the same, decide which one you want, you know, to be the front and back. And we're going to have a look at the handles. So what I did for these was actually use the same one that we cut the bag from, and then I've gone 2 sizes up to create a decent depth of handle. If I'd have only gone 1 size up, if I just take the next size up, it made it very, very narrow. If I move that big one, this was too narrow for me to be a handle. It was going to end up being too flimsy. So we actually went up 2 sizes, and what I've done is I stuck those together to create that oval shape, and I've cut out several pieces. So first of all, I cut 2 in the leftover from my teal cardstock. Then I cut 2 white ones in some scrap card to act as a reinforcer. And I've also cut 2 further ones in some white card to go on the inside. Now my papers that I used for this one are single-sided, so I just want a nice white one to make it look nice and neat on the inside. When I did the large one previously on Crafters TV, my inside had a pattern on it here, and you can just pick up. So I actually coloured the inside of them with some ink just to pick out the patterning. So again, lots of choices for those handles, but on this one because the paper was white on the inside, I've just put that nice white one. Again, it helps with the reinforcement. It tidies up. If you don't have access to the dies and you've cut this by hand, it tidies up any sort of little bits that weren't quite right. So what we're going to do then is pop those to one side. First of all, I'm going to work with the blue handles. Okay, and we're just going to sit these, and you'll find that these match up beautifully with that oval shape that we cut into the handle. So this time I'm just going to flick over to my fine tip applicator because I'm going on to this foiled work here. I'm going to use the fine tip, and rather than try and guess whereabouts it wants to come to on the handle, I'm actually going to put my glue just around. If we can get it to work, come along. It's been sat there all night, it's decided to go on strike. There we go. So yeah, just about 1/4 of an inch or so all the way round where we cut that oval. And that will be sufficient. And again, I always sort of work this way. I find it easier to work on this sort of angle. And what I'm going to do is just line up this inside edge with the one that we cut, and that's going to give me exactly the correct positioning there. So you shouldn't be able to see any paper. You can just nudge it into place and you've got the perfect shaping then for the handle. Okay, then we're going to do exactly the same for the other side, so the front, the reverse, whichever way around. So again, I'm going to pop that glue straight onto my paper here, and you do want a decent weight of, this is sort of from a paper pad, but it's almost like a very lightweight card. So it does want to be a decent thickness. I would say sort of about 180 GSM upwards, so that you've got some substance to the actual bag. And again, I'm just going to look at the inside of that line, make sure that I can't see any of my pattern paper, and give that a nice press into place. And then I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to use one of the white ones, and these will fit straight over this to actually cover up any sort of, just neatens off this edge, just makes it look prettier. I think it's again, it's an optional, you know, one if you've not got you know, any extra cardstock. If you don't want to use any more cardstock, then you don't have to do this, but I just think it neatens up everything and gives it a really nice finish. So again, because it's a narrower bit, I'm going to use that fine tip applicator with my PVA glue in there, and then this one's just going to sit directly over the top of the one that we've just done, so they should line up perfectly. And again, that wet glue just allows you to wriggle things into place. I'm going to make sure from the front that there's no white edge showing, and that looks fine to me. There we go. So you've got a really nice strong handle on there now. And again, we'll treat that other side to the same detail. So we've got another one cut in white. And again, I'm just going to add some of my PVA glue there with the fine tip applicator. Just allows for that precision placement. And we're going to do the same again. I'm just going to line it up with the one that's already down. And again, like I said, that wet glue just gives you the couple of seconds you need to wriggle everything into place and just make sure that everything's sat down nicely, and then we can give it a good press. Perfect. And then I'm also, so I'm just going to have a look at these and see, they should be identical. I don't think there's a lot to choose between them, so we'll stick with this one and decide that this is going to be the front. So I just want to pop that base up for a second, and again, the detail that I popped on here I find easier to do while it's flat. So I'd actually got a little scrap of card left. By the time I'd cut the two side panels and the handles out, I'd got a little scrap of the blue left, which was just a nice size to make a banner, along with a piece of scrap white that I had left that had some stitching design on. And I went back to my visible image stamps. I had these out the other day. These are go-to words, and I just love the font on these. So I've chosen Happy Birthday. I think the one I'd done the other day we had congratulations on, but this one's Happy Birthday on there, which I've just inked up with my black ink. And just trimmed it at an angle to create a little bit of interest, and I've popped some tape on the back of here. So you can decide whereabouts you want to put this. And again, you know, embellishments, decorations are pretty much a personal thing, depending on yourself as a maker, or, you know, the person that you're going to send it to. So all I'm going to do is use my ruler. I want this to maybe, let's have a look how high up we want it to be. Probably about the same. This measures 1 1/4 inches, so I'm going to come up 1 1/4 inches from the bottom here, and I'm going to line this up right with the edge of the card there. Just make sure I've got everything nice and straight. Yep, and then press that one down. So just use a little bit of red line tape on the back of there, but you've got much more leverage to press this down rather than when you're working on something that's hollow. You know, you've got to get your hand in there to press it. So I always sort of do anything that needs a, you know, a good stick while it's flat, and then we can actually put the rest of the bag together now. So we'll put the lid on that one, and I'm going to come back to my all-purpose glue now to start and put this together. Okay, just move them a little bit. So what we're going to do then is we're going to fasten the back of our bag onto this side here. Okay, so apologies if this has all gone just out of shot, but you can see what I'm working on here. So the other side of this that we created our glue tab on, I am going to pop my all-purpose again, nice and strong. Add some rigidity to your project when it's dry. Just smooth it out to try and avoid the what I call the mayo effect, where it all spridges out like it does when you have too much mayo on your sandwich. And then again, we're going to do exactly the same. I'm going to concentrate on this score line at the bottom and line that up with the bottom here, and then the top pieces should fit nice and flush again. If you have any difference, it's easier to trim the top of the bag than try and work out, which is why I always make sure that my score lines at the bottom all line up. And then again, I am going to fold this in half just to make sure that I've got that nice flush edge there. And once I'm happy with it, give it a good press down again to make sure. And this should all run nice and parallel. So I just need to move that over a little bit. Make sure that the bag's all nice and parallel when it's folded flat here. And we've got that in place. And then we just need to do that last side here. So this one is now going to attach to here, and we're going to create the basis of the bag. So again, I'm going to add my glue to that long glue tab. Just spread it out again to try and avoid any mishaps. And what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to open the whole thing up, fold this one in, and this should now just fit perfectly onto that last side. Okay, if you've got everything square, it should just fit nicely onto there. Everything should line up perfectly, and you should be able to get this pretty much flat. There we go. Now, if you were wanting to make these either to sell or to use, you know, at a craft fair or anything like that, you can get them to this stage and then leave them packed flat and then just pop the bases together when you want to use them. So it's a nice way of sort of making a stash of them if you want, and then you can just pick them out as you're ready to use them. So that glue should be dry on there now. We should be okay. So you can see we've got the makings of our shape. All we need to do now is sort out the base. So this is my front. This is going to be the last one we put down. And I like to trap these little tabs on the inside so that you get a nice finish inside. So I'm going to bring in the back first, and then we're going to hide those two little tabs on the inside. And again, I'm just going to flick glues for this particular bit, purely because this one's a bit more of a quick grab, and I want these two little side tabs to stick down. So we're going to bring these out of the sides. In fact, let me just move that one out of the way a minute. I'm going to add glue onto the inside of this one here, and I'm going to put glue on the inside of this one. A little bit fiddly to show you on camera, but you can see where I'm heading. Okay, and then fold in that back one and then get these onto the edges here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to stand it up, and I'm going to pop in with, I've got my long bone folder here, and just give that a press on either side to make sure that those have sealed in place. Okay, and then we're going to stick this one, and it seals all those little tabs inside nicely. And again, this time I'm going to come back to my all-purpose glue. I want that nice extra layer. This is going to, when it dries, it almost creates the effect of having another piece of cardstock. If you are planning anything particularly heavy for your gift, you could always conceal another piece of cardstock in here to reinforce it. But all I'm going to do now is just make sure that everything's nice and square. Pop that one in, turn it over, and then I'm going to go in again with that bone folder and just spread out all that glue and make sure that it's connected with the other piece of cardstock, like so. And then you should end up with a really nice flush finish here on this edge. The two little glue tabs concealed, so that when you look inside, you've got a really nice finish inside the box there. Now, I didn't actually put any score lines down here. You can, if you wish, score the centres of these, but all I tend to do is just put my fingers in and literally squeeze it together, and you'll get that halfway. So I didn't want them to go all the way down. I just want that little bit of indentation here so that you've got everything in the right shape. And that's essentially our little bag made. So all I've got left to do now is just add a bit more decoration onto the side here. So I've got one or two bits and pieces. I've made my little gift tag, and this is a set of sort of quirky stamps that Crafter's Companion brought out, the little gift tag stamps, and they've all got different greetings on. I have a set of about 6 of them, and this one just actually says, a special gift you never knew you wanted. And I just thought it's got that little bit of a, you know, a twist to it, and I've stamped that in some turquoise ink just to match my coordinating colour, my contrast colour here. And I've made it into a little tag. I actually have a tag die that I've used, and I've just popped a little butterfly on there, just punched out of a bit of the scrap that was left here. And this is going to go around my handle like so. I've got a couple of foam pads on the back here just to hold that in place. I've also brought out a couple of my Elements dies from Gemini, and these were brought out to work alongside the Gemini MIDI, the little hand turn machine, but they've got some beautifully sized elements on here. I often reach for these for embellishments, so I've used the Fabulous Florals, and I've actually they're actually a lot bigger inside than what they look on the packaging. I've chosen this one here. It's one of my favourites, and again I've cut it with some of the scrap and some of the blue there just to create a nice little embellishment flower. And then I also use the foliage set, which is simple sprigs, and again you get several different ones, and I've just cut a couple of those, this little one here, and these are going to help just add a bit of detail to the design. So I need both of those out of there. I've also got a few pearls. It wouldn't be a jam project without some pearls on. So we'll bring that glue in again, and I'm just going to start with these little tiny sprigs, and it doesn't need a lot because the flower's going to secure them, but I'm just going to pop some dabs of glue just in places where I can get to, and then I want to pop one of them is going to come up out of the top here, like so. And then the other one is going to come from the bottom, just to add a little bit of interest behind the flower. Just makes it look so that the flower's not sort of floating about. And I've just gone for that lovely light sage green, again, piece out of my scrap box. And this one's just going to come towards the bottom here. Whoops, there we go. Okay, and then my flower is going to sit over the top like so. Whoops, everything's sticking to me today. I don't know what's going on. Like this. And I've got a couple of foam pads on the back of here, so we'll take the backs off those. Again, I always treat the foam pads to a couple of dabs of wet glue just to get that longevity out of the stick. And then we're going to pop this one just at an angle. I don't want to cover up too much of the sentiment, and I don't want to cover up the foliage that I put on. And then just pop my hand inside. It's just that one embellishment that I'm going to put on from the front there, like so. And then my tag, I'm actually going to use a little bit of red line tape just to secure this in place and the handle. So I just want a little bit off there. Decide whereabouts I'm going to put it. So I'm going to use my foam pads here. And again, if you want this one's just for decoration. If you want a tag to write a message on, then obviously I wouldn't be sticking it down, but mine was just for decoration. So I'm going to pop that onto the front of the bag. I'm going to look at where my ribbon falls, pop the little bit of tape on the top there, remove the liner, and then I'm just going to stick my ribbon across the handle like so to anchor it. And then if you want, you can stick it again at the back if you want to. I'll pop a little bit of wet glue behind there just to give it something to adhere to at the back there. Okay, so we've got that one at the ready. Just give that a second to grab. And then once you've got it in position, I'm just going to give that ribbon a nice little neat trim. I think that one's okay. Get that to stick in place. There we go. And then the last bit, as always, is just to pop a little bit of decoration on. So let's have a look. I'm going to go with, let me think, I need a slightly larger turquoise one, I think. So I'm just going to grab these out of my drawer. And I want to go with a slightly larger one. We'll go, does it want to be the really big one? No, I think we'll stick with that size. And I'm going to put one of those in there, just got a little bit of shine on it, like the foiling on the bag. And then again, I like to sort of come through the design. So we're going to come down here. And then I'm going to go into the centre, up here, and up off the design again, just to draw your eye through that design. And then we will go with the pink next to the blue. And then we'll have a paler blue one, a pink one, and a paler blue one again. So again, all optional, but I just love, you know that how much I love my gems there. I've got them in the centre of the butterfly, got them in the centre of the flower, and just kept them all in colours that match the paper there. So that's my finished design there. That little bit of ribbon on the back is being stubborn. Just pop that on there. Again, pop that just on the back for decoration. There we go. And you can see we've got our gorgeous little gift bag now. Lots and lots of room inside. If you wanted to pop a gift and seal it in here, you could actually fasten your tag around both handles so that the bag's sealed. But I would be looking at maybe wrapping something in tissue or putting your gift in the bottom and stuffing it with some tissue to match your design. And then again, you know, sort of wrapping your tag around both handles, or a ribbon or a piece of twine, however you want to close it. And you've got that gorgeous little gift bag with the coordinating sides, nice pattern back and front, and a really secure base on it with that glue that's made it nice and strong. So that's the blue version. I'll bring in the pink version that I made off camera for my sample. don't know which one of those I like best. My two favourite colours, I love working in the pinks, and the second colour would be the teal. So yeah, my two favourite colours. I'm going to have these stood in my craft room, I think, just as decoration. So I hope you've enjoyed the tutorial today. Let me know if you're going to have a go at making it. You can find me on Facebook at JB Crafts if you want to upload any of your photos of projects that you may have made. That's what they're all here for, you know, just to give you some inspiration. If you're changing the measurements or anything like that, let me have a look and see what you've been up to. But other than that, yeah, if you've enjoyed it, consider giving it a thumbs up, and I'll be back very soon with another tutorial for you. So bye bye for now.